Hello guys, my name is Akim Longwe. I'll be taking you through the Linux directory structure. So just as we pointed out in the last video, we had to install Ubuntu in WSL. So for every operating system that you start working on, one of the most basic and important things that you have to do is to know the directory structure. Okay, so by directory structure, we just mean the way folders and files are arranged systematically in the operating system. Right now I'm using Windows, so I'll show you just a glimpse of the Windows directory structure and what it actually does. So for a tech personnel, for a developer, you must know these things because they come in handy when you are developing, okay? So this is my root folder. Let me just hide these hidden files, okay? So this is my Windows machine. You'll notice that on your Windows machine, you have a local disk C. So you have these folders here, these two folders, program files, and you have the Windows folder, you have the users folder. So for this operating system called Windows, we know that the users folder is where the users files are. And the Windows folder is where we find the system files. The actual Windows operating system is located in this location. Okay, so the program files, we know that these ones store the installed programs, the ones that you install, you download and you install that. So they are contained in these two folders. So we have the folder for the 64-bit files, and we have the one for the 32-bit files. If you don't know what the bits mean, just ignore it. My main emphasis today is on the Linux directory structure. So as always, we'll go to Ubuntu. Okay, so we want to understand the folder structure of the Ubuntu operating system. So for starters, Ubuntu is a command line driven interface. What do we mean by that? What we mean basically is that Ubuntu does not need graphics for you to operate it. I know there are versions of operating systems when you have installed them fully in the system, you can be interacting with graphics the way we do with Windows. Okay, for a graphical user interface, you make actions just by clicking and navigating the graphics. For instance, here I want to open a folder, I'll just come here and then I open File Explorer, I go to that folder, I open it, stuff like that. But for a command line interface, what you do, the way we interact with it, we interact with it with commands. Okay, so this is Linux. For instance, I may write ls on the command line interface and press enter to execute the command. Okay, so it has not shown anything just because that is an empty directory. But if I do pwd, you see that something has come up on the screen. So as we proceed with these videos, you get to understand what all these commands mean and what they do. So first of all, as I already said, we are talking about the directory structure of Linux. Okay, so everything in Linux begins on the root directory. We have what we call the root directory. So I will be referring to my slides so that I'm clear and precise on what we are talking about. So we start from the root directory. So someone might ask, what is the root directory? Okay, so for us to move into a folder, to navigate into a folder and to navigate to a path, instead of clicking like the way we do in Windows, there is a command for that on Linux. Okay, the command is cd, and most of the Linux commands, if not all commands, they are written in lowercase. So I'll write cd on the screen and press and add a space. So the root directory is accessed by placing a forward slash there. So the moment I say cd forward slash, I'm telling my operating system, my Ubuntu, to change to the root directory. Okay, so the moment I press enter, I've executed that command. So there is also this other command that you have to know, which is ls. So this one tells the operating system to list the files that are there in that directory. So the moment I say ls and I press enter, you'll see that there is a bunch of folders here that have opened up, a bunch of folders and files. Okay, so this is basically the Linux directory structure. We start with the root directory. So this is where each and every folder is mapped to. Okay, so everything in Linux, they start from here, the root directory. Then from the root directory, let us go to the /bin directory. So because we are moving between directories, for us to access the bin directory, we'll say we have to first of all reach the root directory, which is the /. Then after the /, we have to reach the bin directory. Okay, so the bin directory, which is this one here, this is where all the binaries are stored. All these commands that we run on Linux, they are actually programs that run on the command line. So these programs are stored in the bin directory. Okay, if I say list the files that are in the root directory but move to the bin directory, if I do that and I press enter, you see that it will list everything that is in the bin directory. And remember, there is a command I just showed you, which is cd. If you look closely in this folder, you may find that cd can also, in fact, is also located in this folder because it's one of the Linux commands. Okay, for instance, you find cat here. Cat is also a Linux command. So for me, who is used to Linux, don't mind this command that I'm about to write, but just pay attention. cd. Right, cd-rom. Anyway, ignore it, ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. Let us move to the next directory. So here we say that all the commands and the system programs are stored in this bin directory. Moving on, we have the boot directory. So the boot files are there, the Linux kernel, and all the things that are needed when we are starting up the machine, when the system is booting. Okay, and we have the dev directory. So this one stores the default files and everything. In fact, you have to know that everything is treated as a file in Linux. So in fact, including the device files, they are stored there. And we have the etc directory. So this folder, which is here, it stores configuration files. If I say ls etc, this one stores configuration files. Okay, some of these things you can be ignoring them because that is not our main focus, but I just want you to introduce you to a topic that when you try to maximize on it, you gain valuable knowledge from it. Okay, so we have the home directory. So in Windows we have this users directory. An equivalent folder to in Linux is what we call the home directory. So if I move to home, remember I say that once I do cd and I say home, I'm telling the operating system that I want to move to the home directory. So if I do move to that directory and I place ls, you'll find that there is the user that we created at the beginning. Of course, I changed my username. At first I was using Akim Junior, but now I'm using Cody's Power. But this is the username. So the same thing that we have in Windows, like when I go to users, I'll find Cody's Power here. Okay, so or IO. So these users here, this is where they are stored in Linux, the home directory. Okay, I want to make this video as short as possible so that we get started in developing Python as soon as possible. So we have the lib directory where we have shared libraries for system binaries. So there are files that are shared. It's similar to the DLLs files in Windows. They cannot be specifically for one program, but they are shared among many programs that may be running. Okay, I'm not sure if you're getting me, but we are moving. Okay, so we have the mount and media. So this is where we mount the operating system will mount your drives. The moment you press a USB drive, it you can access it by navigating to that folder. Okay, so let's go back and see the media. Here is the media, and here is the MNT mount. So the moment you do CD and MNT, right here you can find where you have mounted the drives. Okay, so you can see that it's trying to show us the drives that are there in Windows that have been mounted to the Linux WSL that we have installed. So you can see that we have drive D and we have E, which are here in Windows. Okay, so we have D there and we have E and we have C. So this is how Linux is showing those mounted drives. Okay, so I'll do CD and two full stops to go back to to the previous directory, the root directory. Okay, so moving on, we have the opt folder or the directory which stores optional third-party software. So these softwares may not be managed by package manager. In Linux, we have what we call a package manager. You'll learn about that as we go. And we have the process and the system files. So we have visual files and system information there. When a process is running, for instance, it will store a certain file in the proc directory just to track the lifespan of the process. Okay, and then we have the root directory. So this root directory is the home directory for the root user. So in Linux, we have a root user and a regular user. So it's the same as we have in Windows. We have the administrator in Windows and we have the normal user. So the root user is the one who is responsible for doing high level functionalities. For instance, installing a file. You cannot just install a file as a regular user. Okay. For instance, I may try to update my system by saying sudo apt get update. Oh, no, no, no. Let me update the system normally. Apt get update. Okay, so you see that it's saying permission denied. Okay, so it's denying me to perform this action because I'm not the root user. The root user is the one who has the privilege to running changes in the system. So for me to execute this program as a root user, there are two things I can do. It's either I do su for changing a user and I write root, okay, and I'll be requested to provide the password. Once I provide the password, I can run this command normally. Or I can temporarily use the root rights, okay, by writing the command sudo before I do the actual command. Okay, I say sudo apt get update. So the moment I do that, it will request for a password. Once I enter my password, it will start updating the system. Oh, wrong password? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Aha. So you see that it's updating my system because I've assumed the root user rights to execute this command. So keep that in mind. I'll ignore that and let's move on. So we have the run directory. I'll leave that to you guys to find out the sbin, the tmp for temporary files, the user for user installed software, the var where we have logs, we have the we have navigating the file system. So to navigate the file system, these are the commands that we use. Okay, the cd, I just talked about that one. Okay, so we have the root. This is a summary: root, home, etc, user installed, var, logs, and all that. So basically, that is the Linux file structure. I'll leave the rest of the folders for you guys to find out about them. But what I've shared is enough for you guys to get started with learning Linux and being able to use it to develop your Python softwares. So in the next videos, I'll be showing you a few things, a few commands that will be very important as we'll be uh, coding in Python. So I'll show you how you can install softwares in this Ubuntu machine that we have just installed, and I'll show you how you can create files, run your Python programs, and edit them, and a lot of other cool stuffs, guys. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, share it to your friends, so that we have a bigger community. You know, sharing is caring, including sharing knowledge. Okay, so have a wonderful day, evening, whatever you're having. See you in the next video. Thank you.